I'm recording a one-size-fits-all legal disclaimer for the beginning of every episode that I upload. The views and the opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any agency, organization, employer, or company that they are affiliated with. Examples of analysis performed within this podcast are only anecdotal examples. They should not be utilized in any real-world analytics as they are based on anecdotal information. That is all. Oh. Hi, I'm Robert Cross, and this is Cross Theory, the podcast where we look at this book, The Dictionary of Theories, over 5,000 theories, possibly 5,000 episodes. I'm joined here by another writer like myself. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I am Brad Kelly, a novelist, short story writer from time to time. I've got a podcast as well, Method Madness, focused on books, writers, internet people, and that sort of thing. So,
Subscribe.
yeah, do subscribe.
Do
I'm supposed to say
subscribe.
that. Subscribe. Yeah, smash
Yes.
that like button and
That's right.
whatever
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm Robert Cross, Robert James Cross. I have a master's degree in creative writing, a master's degree in education. I'm in my doctorate program for education, and I'm a high school teacher. And none of that matters. Even though the theory that we're going to be talking briefly about, maybe a lot about, who knows? Like I said, it doesn't really matter if we get to it or we don't, is a literary theory. It is called,
excellent.
yeah, it is called absence. And again, we're in the A's still because we're going in alphabetical order. And this is episode 11. So, literary theory, that is the key idea of French Marxist critic Pierre Macherey. Okay. Literary
Right.
texts are not simply to be interpreted in a process of extracting what they say, since they manifest significant absences, what is not said, related to Freud's unconscious. These absences point to the text's contradictory relationships to ideology.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot to
I,
unpack there. What do you think when you hear that theory the first?
yeah. I mean, there definitely is a lot in a novel or a piece of literature that is caught up in what is actually not on the page,
That's
what's
right.
left out,
Mhm.
how the writer decides. Not only the stuff that's left out on purpose, but also stuff that's sort of left out in the name of expediency or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And
Mhm.
how those choices get made. And I find it interesting it leaning in this sort of ideological direction. What was
Mhm.
that last
It
sentence?
was, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, it was, yeah. No, I'll do it again. This is good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
these absences point to the text's contradictory relationships to ideology.
Oh,
Yeah,
contradictory relationships to
yeah,
ideology.
contradictory.
Is that like if the author doesn't want to reveal their
Well, since it's it's
ideology?
since it's connected to Freud, right? So Freud,
Right,
you know,
right,
the whole thing is like, yeah, you want to fuck your mother or whatever it is, you know what I
right,
mean? And so, but you don't
right.
outwardly say that, okay?
Of
So
course.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's what the absences is. That's what you're referring to, is the things
Yeah.
within our subconscious or id or superego, all that other bullshit that
Yeah.
comes out on the page, but isn't like isn't consciously put on the page, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess I mean that is interesting because like if you were to be a writer and maybe not in any one story, but if you were to look at like a writer's entire corpus and they never mention a mother,
yeah,
like
yeah,
then it
yeah,
does seem like they're trying not to look at something
yeah,
or
yeah.
something, right? They are trying to like skirt
Well,
around
like
the
what,
edge or
like
whatever.
the whole thing with Disney with the dead parent thing. Like, what is that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
the
what is
absent,
that?
like an absent parent. You know what I mean? Like, is that something there? Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could dig
Yeah.
into
I mean
that.
it
I mean,
it could be a little bit, right? I
yeah,
don't know. I mean, you could get even conspiratorial with that. And I don't necessarily think that that's what's going on there, but there it is weird. Pretty much
yeah,
all of them have like a dead
hmm,
parent or a gone parent. But then all through history,
hmm,
so many stories sort of follow that hero's journey where the person has a special birth, right?
yeah,
Is I
hmm.
think the official term for it.
Jesus.
And then the could yeah, geez, right, right, right. That's a perfect example.
That's the
But
big
then
one.
in the
Yeah,
like
yeah.
And then in the contemporary world, like how do you do that in a realistic setting?
Mhm.
Well, you make it so they don't have one or more
Yeah.
parents, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Or their
like
parent dies during childbirth or something like that, you know?
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
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 So that's part of it too. Yeah, that's it. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, we had so one of I think it was my yeah, it was the second episode I did was about abandonment theory, which was
Mm.
the idea that God had abandoned us after he created us and then we have to come up with our own shit or whatever. Um
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's the same kind of right? It's like the absence of God. Like that's the, the same kind of deal.
Hmm.
Like what does that how does that twist our ideologies as human beings, right? And twist the way that
Sure.
we think and what we do and everything. And it
Right.
could get political. And again, like I say this every podcast. I'm always like, I don't mean to get political because, like,
Right. Right. Right.
everybody construes every single little thing somebody says. But
That's true. Yeah.
but yeah, it's this like who you are as a human being, how you were raised, who you were raised by, whether or not you believe in God, what kind of
Hmm.
surroundings you have, all these things. And I don't know what I didn't really look too deeply into your politics or anything, and I couldn't really
Sure.
tell too much from your book either, which I mean I felt like was
Yeah.
good. You know what I mean? Like that means it's
Yeah.
good for everybody to read, right? Okay.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I wish I could do that. I can't. A lot of my stuff is I guess I always say I'm left leaning socially and right leaning fiscally, and so
Sure.
but like yeah, so yeah, a lot of my stuff
That's
is
pretty.
very very much like that.
Yeah, well, it's a very reasonable position to be in. I don't even know anymore what any of the
Yeah,
political distinctions mean. It's getting harder and harder to track because there's stuff that I like. I feel like I haven't changed a whole lot in the last like 10, 15 years, but I definitely
the
know I've
world
got a
has
few.
though.
Yeah, it's what, yeah, and I know I have too,
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
from my perspective, there's stuff that I I still more or less agree with that used to put me on sort of the left or leftish
yeah.
that now makes it seem like I'm on the right.
We're
So
on
I
the
don't
right.
know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know where I am.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
No,
like
yeah. It's
like for
difficult.
instance, not
Yeah.
yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I never trusted like pharmaceutical companies, not to
Oh
get
yeah.
too into the COVID stuff. I just
Yeah,
never trusted them. I thought
yeah,
their
yeah,
incentives were kind of weird and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then like if you just hang on to that opinion until 2026, you're
Yeah.
on the right somehow.
Yeah. Well. So yeah. And I'm actually. It's funny that you said that because I was on another person's podcast, my buddy Kevin, and he asked
Yeah.
me about that actually specifically. He was like, "What are your
Yeah.
feelings on the whole thing?" And I told him, I
Yeah.
said, "Well, my both of my parents, my mother and my stepfather, they both had AIDS when I was
Oh
growing
wow.
up, and so yeah, they both died of AIDS, and so there was a point in the '90s when Bill Clinton put Fauci in charge of AIDS medication. And
Yeah.
Fauci ended up taking that AIDS medication away from my mother, and she got way sicker and ended up dying. Like both of my
Oh
parents ended up dying.
wow.
And so
Wow.
I've
Yeah.
never trusted that piece of shit. So anytime he's mentioned in the news, I'm like, go fuck him. Fuck him. I'm not
Right.
a fan, whatever. But that's
Sure.
because it's connected to me, personally. It's like my parents
Sure.
died, right? If my parents
That's a
hadn't
very good
died,
reason.
like
Yeah.
whatever, I would have probably been like, yeah, everybody take the vaccine, he's a trustworthy
Yeah.
individual, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just, yeah, anything that guy says to me is like complete shit. And I explain that to people who call me like, far right or whatever. They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you don't believe in the COVID vaccine, all this stuff. It's not that I don't believe in a vaccine. Like obviously I've taken
Right.
a shit ton of vaccines throughout my life.
Mhm.
And I don't have smallpox, I don't have ricket or whatever, the rickets or whatever,
Right.
and
Right.
it's but this guy who they put in charge of the vaccine is, I felt like, primarily responsible for killing my family. So I don't know whether or not I should be like trustworthy of that guy. It'd be like if they were like, here's the Antichrist and he's in charge of this. You know what I mean? Like, are you
Right.
going to take whatever the Antichrist gives you? Like, I don't think so. I wouldn't,
No. Yeah,
Like, so
yeah. No,
there you go.
I mean, and I feel like, I mean, I didn't have that personal experience, but I feel
Yeah.
like that gives me secondhand,
Yeah.
gives
Yeah. Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
else who hears this
Yeah. Yeah.
story pretty good reason to not trust either. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the guy's a piece of
that,
shit, but that's
yeah, yeah. I mean,
but
that's
again,
my take
like
on it. Yeah,
don't let my opinion skew anything that you do, because and in his personal life he might be a very nice person. A lot of these people are, right? Okay, a lot of
sure.
these people are
Yeah,
probably really nice in their personal life, but like
sure.
outwardly in society and everything, and that's the thing. They always say celebrate our differences, right? That's what everybody says. Celebrate your
Mhm.
differences. But it's
Mhm.
like as soon as that person's difference misaligns with your difference, it's like go
That's a
fuck
problem.
you, go die, like whatever. I
That's a
just yeah,
problem.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
where did you grow up primarily? Like in country
I grew
wise?
I grew up in the Detroit area,
Okay, yeah. So where the
Detroit,
book's based
Michigan.
and everything.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Cool, cool,
So
cool.
I left
Yeah,
for a while though. I went and wandered the country for more than a decade, living in different places, and then kind of wound up back here. I
got it.
I like to say I washed up back
Yeah.
here. Uh,
Yeah, even though there's not like an ocean like next to yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
I kind of ran out of money and prospects and came back here where I figured somebody would do me a favor, at
Yeah, yeah,
least
yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
from. So
No,
it's all worked out since then.
yeah, it's interesting. So whenever I look for affordable housing, like a
Mm,
house, right? One of the first
yeah,
places I look is Detroit, Michigan, because that's like, there's houses there that are like 10
yeah,
grand, like
yeah,
but
yeah,
again, you have to
yeah.
live in like a certain part of Detroit that's I
You
guess
gotta
not
live in a
feasible.
rough place,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I know some people who bought those $10,000
Uh-huh.
houses and
Yeah.
they end up spending $200,000
To get
to
them
make them
fixed.
livable,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
to get them
like,
fixed up. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Flint. There's the whole story of Flint and all
Oh
that
my
shit over
God.
there. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I
dude,
mean, yeah.
Flint is involved. People don't know this. My wife and
Okay.
I were talking about this the other
Yeah, yeah.
day. They clued me into this. There's something going on there where the sheriff of the county of Flint, and this is all just recent in the last few weeks.
Okay.
The sheriff up there is apparently super, super, super corrupt. There was this activist up there in Flint. And Flint, for people who don't know, is like when you if you've heard of Detroit and you know of the stereotypes, like the old, dark, gritty, dangerous stereotypes, that's what Flint actually is.
Yeah.
So it's a rough place. And but anyway, there was this activist who was kind of calling this stuff out on the internet, right? And
Mhm.
like was getting involved in court cases and had set up some kind of app so you could track spending of the county and whatever.
Yeah.
And this activist made a public statement, I am not suicidal. About a week later, he quote
He-
unquote committed
Yeah,
suicide.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there's some crazy stuff
yeah.
going on up there in
Yeah.
the middle of the state, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
he commit suicide by two gunshots behind the head or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah,
Like,
right,
that's all
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's crazy to think that stuff still had like that kind of corruption where the sheriff is running this county. He just apparently just had some guy executed.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean,
wild
look.
stuff.
No, I mean, again, like we're going into politics, but like look no
Yeah.
further than Washington D.C. if you want to see still to this day absolute fucking
Oh yeah.
corruption. I mean, like it's
Oh
constant,
yeah.
and then all the countries that we end up having to like bolster with our tax dollars, which like I don't know, I didn't vote for any of that.
Yeah.
Did you vote for
Yeah.
like
No.
our money to go to Ukraine or Israel? I didn't. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
No.
that's not sorry. Like I didn't vote for that. So when
Yeah.
you say,
Yeah.
do you agree with it? I do not. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, of course,
Yeah.
like, I hope those people have wonderful, happy lives. Like, I'm not saying that I wish,
Yes.
like, a nuke to hit either one of those places.
Right.
Netanyahu's house, maybe, but, like, everybody else, like, I'm not really,
Right.
But, yeah, like, I
Well,
didn't vote for it,
there gets to be a thing. Well, I think we do get one thing kind of confused because we're talking about what side of things you're on. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like protested the Iraq war.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
was
yeah,
pretty
yeah. No,
young.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like 20 to be honest with you, but
Yeah, yeah.
I was protesting. I was
Yeah.
against all that.
Did you have friends? Did
And
you have friends who died in that war? Because I did. I had like a few buddies that.
I knew people who went. I can't say. I know secondhand some people who died. Like people I
Yeah,
know who went to knew people, but I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
say that
yeah.
I knew anybody
Well, because like,
personally that did.
a lot of
Yeah.
my friends' parents and shit, they obviously they
Hmm.
all have like the Vietnam War. That's their big like
Yeah.
thing
I
or
was
whatever,
right.
And so when I think about my generation, it's 9/11 happened, and then
Yeah.
the Afghan Iraq War. And then it
Yeah.
became, and then like a bunch of, I graduated high school in 2003. So literally like
Okay.
right when the Iraq war started is when I graduated high school. And a lot of my
Yeah.
friends who were leaving high school were like, fucking, we're going like, fuck
I know.
Saddam, all this stuff like that. And we're going to get
Yeah.
bin Laden, all this other crap. And I
Yeah.
just was never that way. and I'm glad I was never that way.
Me neither.
But
Yeah.
they all, like, a lot of them died. A couple of them did, and a couple of them
Yeah.
came back
Yeah.
and became like valets at hotels and shit, and they're,
Right.
they can't hold a job anywhere else because they have PTSD up the
Yeah.
ass. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do?
Well, my dad. So my dad served. He was a combat veteran in Vietnam.
Oh, in
He
Vietnam,
was in
yeah,
the
okay,
he was
yeah,
in the he was in the infantry, right? So this was like
yeah,
in the
hardcore
shit.
shit, yeah, yeah,
And so the kind of takeaway I got from that in a couple of ways. Some of it he sort of said to me directly, and some of it he didn't. I mean, the
Mhm.
one was like, you don't sign up for the military because then you basically like consigned your fate over to let somebody else decide what happens to you.
That's right.
And with caveats for like if you're being invaded,
Yeah.
like or whatever, right?
Mhm.
To actually but all that stuff seems like all that stuff you don't even know what you're serving.
No.
The wars in the United States have been involved in the last whatever 60 years. You
Yeah.
don't even really know. I couldn't even tell you what any of them were for. Not
Yeah.
really.
We're not
Yeah.
in
So,
unless we're in immediate danger like this country.
right.
I don't want
Yeah.
my tax money going to blowing up
Same.
anybody else.
Same.
Like, I just do
Yeah.
not want it,
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and that's another thing. That's another take that put me on the left
yeah,
20 years
that's
ago.
right.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now I guess and then I was sort of would I guess moved that became something of a
Because
right
Trump,
position.
yeah, because Trump is, they
Yeah.
call him an isolationist. So, like, they say that,
Right.
like, we're isolating ourselves from the rest of the world. But
Yeah.
I've always said, even before Trump, even before Bush, I mean, I was a kid, I was like 14, 13, whatever, when Bush got elected.
Yeah.
Even before then, I
Mhm.
always said, like, we should bring every single military member back to the United States and just make a
Yeah.
fucking border around the US of military,
Right.
and, like,
Right.
leave us alone. And we could
Yeah.
trade and do all that shit, but, like, why do we have
Sure.
to
Of
go to another
course.
country to, like, defend them? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
they have their own shit, right? They have their own people there. Like,
Right.
are they that
Right.
useless that they need us
Right.
there to, like,
Yeah.
protect them? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's right. Yeah, I'm with you on all of that. I'm with you on all of that. It just it seems but those are the kinds of things that are eye-opening to me in terms of like what the what the sort of culture war discourse is because it's like the propaganda machine gets stirred up
yeah.
to push like whatever the agenda and
Mhm.
then the left right stuff gets sort of
Muddled.
used as
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of
yeah.
that cudgel too. It gets
Uh-huh.
sort of like, well, you're on this team, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
signed up for this team, so wherever that team goes, that's your.
That's right.
It's like I don't really roll that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
look at it, I look at it like, so obviously, like, I'm not like a God-fearing individual myself. I don't have like
Hmm.
a I say that I'm agnostic, right? Because
Fair
I don't
enough.
know what I don't know. So I can't, if I'm wrong, great. If I'm right, great. Like, that's how I
Yeah.
feel about it. But, like,
Sure.
I've always thought, like, that story in the Bible about, Adam and Eve eating from the tree and gaining knowledge and all that stuff. Once you get that knowledge, like, of good and evil and
Hmm.
everything, you don't really need to pick a side. Like, the sides are kind of already, like, there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that when a serial killer goes out and kills people, like, he's fucked up. Like, and that's not a good thing. Or when they
Yeah.
rocket, when a rocket hits, like, a children's hospital, that's bad. Like,
Yeah.
the people that
Agreed.
think
Yeah.
that those things are good are the people you
Yeah.
don't want to be involved with. And those are the people that I feel like are on the extreme right or left or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
there are people like that
Yeah.
on both sides. There's people
Sure.
on the left that would want to assassinate every single person on the right. And then there's people on the right that would want to assassinate every single person on the left. So do I
Yeah.
converse with those people when they're going, no, what? No, probably not. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Have I met them? Fuck yeah, I've met them.
Yeah.
I work in education. I mean, a lot of
I
them
was
are
gonna,
that
s-
way. You know
I
what I
was
mean?
gonna say though, I was gonna say though, like the biography you gave there at the beginning was like, oh,
Yeah.
you've run
Oh
into your
yeah,
share of those
all of
fights, yeah,
them, all of them.
yeah, yeah,
Especially in the college level when because I worked at I was a like an associate professor at SDSU,
mm,
San Diego State, and yeah, I mean, like, the whole English department was funded, and I could say it because I don't work there anymore, but it was funded by the Israeli government. Like, it just was.
really,
Oh yeah, big time. And so they had, like, all these people come in from Israel and all that stuff. And then I moved, and then once I got my teaching credential, I was getting it at a place called High Tech High. I don't know if you've ever heard of High Tech High.
mm,
It's like, yeah, it's like a high school that was created by these two Jewish guys in New York, and it got kind of eaten up, like as far as the funding and everything, by Bill Gates and this guy
Mm.
named Gary Jacobs, who's the son of Irwin Jacobs, who was the co-founder of Qualcomm. And so
Oh, okay.
they ate it up, and then they like literally everybody I met there was like kind of, on that extreme, they
Right,
didn't they
right.
didn't take any kind of other viewpoint. It was like the
Yeah.
viewpoint they got in the book or wherever it was they got it. They were like, that's the thing, and that's it. And I don't feel like that's healthy, like as
No.
a human being or as a society, to just like one you get one viewpoint and then you're like, that's going to be my viewpoint for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
because when you see a different viewpoint or you hear a different viewpoint, you're supposed to think critically with critical thinking, right? Which
Right.
doesn't happen a lot in education, which they talk about it. They always say critical thinking, but to them, critical thinking means that you're only like what they deem as good is the critical part,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Right.
You know,
Right. 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 Right.
and
Yeah.
again, like I don't make any friends saying shit like that when I do say
I
it,
bet
like
you.
at
I bet
work
you
or
don't.
anywhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
but whatever, sue me. Like I try to make my students, because I teach English as a second language right now. So like I have a lot of students
Okay.
that come here from, a lot of them are
Sure.
refugees or immigrants or whatever. And I I tell them all the time, I'm like, if you have a certain viewpoint about something, like keep it until you
Mm.
see something else come along that makes you change the way that you think. Now, unless it's something again, like so today we were talking about ice, right? About
Mhm.
the whole ice thing, right? When if they're grabbing children, right, and putting them in vans and shit, is that a good thing? Like, I think we could both agree that's not a good thing. When
I
they're
don't like it.
yeah, I don't like it either, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so common sense, it feels like, right at that point. But then, like, if they're taking criminals off the streets, though, is that a bad thing? Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking get them
Let's
all in
do
there. Like
right.
if yeah,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
criminal, put them in a fucking van and drive them
Agreed.
back to wherever they come from or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or off a cliff. I
Yeah.
don't even give a shit at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, but
Yeah.
children
We don't.
and
Yeah.
pregnant mothers and shit, leave them alone. Leave
That
them
stuff needs
alone.
to be handled very differently, for
Yeah,
sure, for
leave them
sure.
alone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't get
Yeah,
it,
well,
man.
but none of that. There's not very a whole lot of room for like that kind of nuance. It's like
No,
is the
no.
thing, and it's got to be. And what gets weird too is like all these. I find that there's a sort of pattern in media representation of stuff that it likes to sort of glom onto like a very divisive moment to
Mhm.
then represent the entire conversation about the thing. So when it comes to the ice stuff, like that woman getting shot,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whatever her name was, Renee Good.
Rachel Good.
Um,
Rachel Good.
Rachel Good,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That gets used, that thing, which is incredibly divisive momentarily,
Mhm.
gets used as this sort of like emblem for the whole
Catch all.
conversation.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, and so you can be like, because theoretically, you could be an ardent anti-immigration person, right?
Yeah.
Get them all out of here and
Yeah.
still be like, yeah, that was pretty fucked up
Yeah, you
when
don't
he
do
shot
that.
that
Yeah,
woman.
yeah,
Like you could
yeah,
have both of those
yeah.
opinions at the same time,
Exactly. Yeah,
but
yeah.
but the things are framed to like almost not allow you to
Yeah,
have
you
that
can't
kind
do
of
that.
opinion.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
little bit of this and a little bit of that it's like sort of not allowed
Yeah.
at all to happen. So I'm always cautious of that, of like getting too caught up in like the individual moment because I feel like they're being framed to
Yeah.
like frankly warp my brain in one
Yeah,
way
yeah,
or
yeah.
another.
No,
Yeah.
and that's very true. And like
Yeah.
when they're huge moments,
Mhm.
like the Kennedy assassination or like 9/11 or like something, when they're huge moments, do you notice that
Yeah.
like there isn't really like that doesn't really come into play like
Yeah.
as much as like the small ones, right? Like George
Right.
Floyd being killed. Like obviously
Yeah.
they made that into a huge thing, right? And
Right.
this new Rachel Good, right, which happened like what 4 blocks away from where George Floyd got killed, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting to me.
Right.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. CIA, go fuck yourself. And so, like, you know what I mean. But yeah, like when 9/11 happened, you had the people who were like, we should go over there and kill every single Muslim person that's ever, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have the
Yeah.
people that were like, it was only this like crazy extremist sect of Islam
Yeah.
that did it. Turns out it wasn't either one of those things. It was our government that, you know what I mean? So like at the end of the day,
Yeah,
like, but that's the thing though, it was used for that. And
of
then,
course.
people got wise to the shit. Same thing with the JFK thing. JFK gets
Mhm.
assassinated, right? Probably the first, like, I wrote a play about it actually that got nominated for like best play of the Kennedy Center,
Oh,
which is
nice.
funny. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And I did it as a joke. I wrote it as a joke. I like wrote the play and I was like, I'm going to send it to the Kennedy Center for this contest. And they're probably going to say, ha ha, very funny, and like throw it in the pile. But I got nominated for
Yeah.
like best play. And I was like, cool. I didn't win, obviously. It was some Mormon guy. He won for a play about this woman who smokes pot and then tries to kill herself. It was really funny. I was like, yeah, I read it and I was like, are you kidding me? Like I lost to that. But anyway, it was the in my play, it was two people sitting or two couples sitting on a couch, and they were talking about conspiracy theories about why Kennedy was assassinated the night that he got the night of, like the day it happened, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
so they're
Okay,
like,
yeah.
oh, it was the Cubans, it was this, it was and they're just going back and forth, and then the only voice of reason was like one of the women, like she's like, actually it could have been, whatever this, and it was,
Right.
I was just trying to, I wasn't trying to like make it like that, but it kind of just made, I was running out of characters because I only had four of them. So I was like, I'm sure
Right,
you see the
right.
same thing when you're writing stuff. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
running out of characters to put into
Yeah,
this
you
thing,
you come up against limitations and stuff,
Yeah,
and it
yeah, yeah.
forces you to make decisions.
Oh,
Absolutely.
not,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
not limitations, absences.
The absences, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
back and we're back. No, no, no. But yeah, no, that's
Well,
that's the thing though, is that like I'm sure when the Kennedy assassination happened, I wasn't there. I know you weren't.
yeah,
They were doing the same thing. They were like, oh, we should fucking kill all the Cubans, like that, because obviously it was Castro. Castro did it,
right,
whatever.
right,
But then it turned
right.
out that it was our own people that,
Oh,
I
pretty
mean,
much
it
did
was
it.
the
Yeah,
CIA and the FBI or whoever the fuck,
yeah,
who got
yeah, yeah.
who used Oswald as a pawn or
I,
whatever.
here's a question I have. Do you think that is like if you ask the average person on the street who killed JFK, do they say CIA or do they
No,
just say Lee
no, they
Harvey
would say Lee
Oswald?
Harvey Oswald.
Okay.
And partly because the average person thinks that if you subscribe to any kind of conspiracy theory, you're a Trump supporter. And I feel
Yeah,
like
you
that's,
subscribe to any, you
yeah,
subscribe
yeah,
to all.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
think that, whatever, Q exists and all that other crap.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
see, that's
yeah,
it. That's another thing. I've carefully bought into select conspiracy theories for long enough that when I started, and 9/11 was my first one, and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
in
A lot of
I
us.
was in
Yeah,
eng
yeah.
yeah, I was in engineering school at the time,
Okay.
taking structural engineering the year later, and I was like,
Oh,
wait a second. This thing doesn't make any fucking sense, right? And
jet
just
fuel
like
does not melt steel beams.
yeah,
Yeah.
just beginning to like understand. I was like, it doesn't really make sense that this happened. So,
Yeah.
but that was a very left-wing thing to be like George
Oh,
W,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
the
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
But now if you just hang on to that opinion again until 2026, you're like on the right
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somehow. So it's
Yeah.
very, very it's interesting how that has
and
occurred.
and I'll tell you right
Yeah.
now that if I've been trying to get my family ready for it. I tell my wife sometimes I'm like, get ready for the nuke to fly or whatever. I mean, because I just
Yeah.
feel like that's coming. Like that'll be the next big thing. I'm in San
Could be.
Diego, right? Like a big
Yeah.
military hub. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
this will be a big place for them to hit, right? If that ever
Would
occurred.
be. Yeah.
Because it's got Pendleton and the Coronado, the big naval bases and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we have nukes under, so Point Loma. I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego.
No.
Yeah,
Well, I've
Point
been to San
Loma.
Diego, but I don't know anything about Point Loma.
Yeah, so Point Loma is literally like this big point, like that kind of comes jettisons out of the land, and underneath it are nuclear submarines. Like there's submarines with nukes in them
Yeah.
underneath like Point Loma, and everybody knows it. Like we all know it's there. So
Right. It's
if
not
they wanted to hit
top
us,
secret.
yeah, they hit us right there, and then that's it, kind of thing. So I
Mm.
always tell my wife, sometimes I'm like, lay on the ground, open your mouth, so then the pressure is, so then your eardrums don't burst when the blast comes. As soon as
Damn.
you see the light, get on your stomach, kind of thing. And then we have a room actually right here, this bathroom that's behind me. It has no
Yeah.
windows, and I'm like,
Ah.
we get 3 days of food and water in there, and then put duct tape over the ventilation. We'll be good to go because
Yeah.
then the radiation drops down to 1% after 3 days after
Oh,
a
is that
nuclear
it?
blast. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good
Now
to
you
know.
know, but I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's going to
Yeah.
hit Detroit. I think you'll be fine.
I think we'll be all right. Yeah, I think
I think it's already
here.
happened. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less. A slow nuclear explosion
That's
might
right.
explain
Yeah.
things out here. Yeah, for sure.
That's really
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
How's the food scene out there? I heard that the restaurant
It's pretty
scene's really cool.
it is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's good. See, Detroit's such an interesting spot because in a lot of ways, I mean, it's sort of like the story of America and I could go into the history of it or whatever, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was really in rough shape in the 80s,
Hmm.
super rough shape.
Yeah.
Also in the 90s, not good. In the early 2000s, well, mid 2000s, I guess I should say, like 2003, I guess I moved
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
I'm from the suburbs, right? The working
Yeah.
class sort of
The nice
suburbs.
place. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Nicer. Yeah.
relatively
Nicer. Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But moved down there and it was the hood. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
dangerous. Friends were
Uh-huh.
getting carjacked and
Oh
like
yeah.
you if you left anything out, it was stolen within
Hmm.
5 minutes. It was tough.
Yeah.
And then I kind of came and I left. I moved out to Idaho and other places. I lived in Texas for a while where I got my
You do what?
MFA.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idaho is just a fake name. They just made it up. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything.
it sounds
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, yeah.
It's true.
Is it really? Yeah, they just made it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but it was like some representative or something was like, we should call it Idaho, and he invented like an Indian meaning to it or whatever,
Oh
but it
wow.
actually
Yeah.
didn't mean
I mean
anything at all.
that sounds
Yeah.
American to me. Like that's
Right, right. Yeah. But then anyway, I moved, so I found my way back to Detroit, and I'd been visiting occasionally, and like you get back and you're like, oh, this street used to just be abandoned, and now
yeah.
there's like there's like a hip bar here, and like a UPS stores. Like what?
It's been
Like
gentrified.
there's like
Yeah.
yeah, there's a Whole Foods now on a corner that I would avoid if I
Oh
were
yeah.
I would have avoided if I was on
But
foot,
it's nice. It's
back.
nicer now. Yeah.
Yeah, by quite
Oh
a bit. Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Things
it's
change.
interesting to see
Yeah.
that happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I
But
mean, I grew up
yeah.
like I think I don't know if you. Yeah, I grew up in Hollywood in L.A. and when people hear Hollywood, Los Angeles, they
Yeah.
immediately think movie stars and like glitz and glamour and all this other stuff. That's
Yeah.
not what it is.
No.
Like I said, my parents both had AIDS. They were heroin addicts. I literally lived a block away from Hollywood Boulevard. So it's like
Wow.
you'd think, oh, the stars are out and yeah, I saw movie stars walking around all the time, sure, but they would like not be seen dead on Hollywood Boulevard most of the time. They were just
Right.
walking down it for fun and for whatever reason, or to
Yeah.
like get us when they had a star made for them or whatever, they'd stand there and do the whole like shebang. But
Sure.
but yeah, no, there was a lot of drugs, a lot of prostitution, a lot of everything,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
it
I
was
can
funny.
imagine.
I went back with my wife and my kid, and I was like, yeah, this is where I grew up, and I kind of showed them it because they hadn't really been to Hollywood or whatever. And I remember my wife was like, this is horrible. Like she's like, because there's like a bum throwing up, there's a guy pissing out in the open, like. But to
Right.
me, I don't know what it was. It's like, and I don't know if you ever have this feeling or whatever. Maybe not because you're from like you were in the suburbs or whatever at some point. I
Yeah.
never was. I was always in the streets. But like
Mhm.
when I smell like bum piss and I smell bums and stuff, it gives me like comfort. Like I feel like this like kind of comfort. Like I don't feel
Interesting.
scared or like
Yeah.
anxious or
Yeah.
anything. I'm kind of like
Yeah.
like of course like my surroundings I'm always aware, but like I feel like I'm home kind of thing.
I
And she
I
thinks
kind
that's
of get
weird.
that.
She's like, that's weird, whatever. And I'm like, it's all
Yeah.
about where you were raised. I mean, like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I have that same
yeah, yeah,
experience, but I will say that like I don't get sketched out by like rough areas.
yeah,
You
because
know
you've
what I
been
mean?
around them a lot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just like it's fine.
yeah,
Yeah, the liquors. I remember having not my wife currently, but a girlfriend I had when I lived in Idaho, and
yeah.
I came back here with her on like Christmas, hang out with my friends, whatever. And we stopped in a liquor store and they had the bulletproof glass
Yeah,
over the
yeah,
thing, and she
yeah.
got freaked out.
Oh,
And I
I'm
was
sure.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
well,
is
he
my
doesn't want to
life.
get
Like,
yeah, he's like he doesn't want to get shot.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
why wouldn't he? It's like,
do you not realize that he has things that people want, like behind that counter?
right,
I mean, I don't get it.
right.
Whatever. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
funny, but like, I feel like the people that are, I feel like that when people talk about privilege, like That
Mm.
is privilege. Being afraid of bulletproof glass, like that's privilege right there. Like I'm like we are me and you, or like just I guess people in general that have been through like rough shit in their life. When
Yeah,
somebody says you have privilege, like I get it. I can go get a job anytime I want and all these other things. You know, I mean, I have like education and all this other stuff.
sure.
I have
Yeah,
those kind of privileges. But as far as like my upbringing and who I am as a human being, and I guess my mental facility when it comes to any of this stuff, I have no privilege at all. Like, I'm
yeah.
just like, compared to like somebody who grew up in a place that they had liquor stores where the guy knew your name and he would come around the counter and give you a hug or whatever the
Right,
fuck they
right,
do there,
right.
like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. There, you do realize there are definitely levels to the privilege
yes,
thing, and
big time levels. Yeah, yeah,
I've got some of them for sure. But like, I went to grad school. I got my
yeah.
MFA at the University of Texas or whatever. And
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
I realized that I wasn't as high up that chain as I thought when I met all of my people I was there
Oh
with,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
their parents were like college professor,
Mm-hmm.
doctor,
Oh yeah.
lawyer,
Oh yeah.
this, that. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, my dad retired from a blue collar job at Chrysler, and
Yeah.
my mom was a secretary, right? It's very like they were proud of me going to college or whatever, but
Yeah,
they were like,
yeah.
they didn't know what any of that shit was. I told them I was getting a master's degree. They're like, what is that?
What are you
What
a
does that
master
mean?
of?
Right. Yeah. So, there are sort of levels
Yeah.
to it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and we're lucky, I mean, like me and
Mm,
you, and a lot of
yeah.
us that again that have like that education, we're lucky. But then again, and I don't talk about this a lot on this show or I guess in general, but the thing that we're not lucky for, I guess, is that we know too much. And when you know too much, you get increasingly depressed and sad because you know more
Mm,
than ignorance is bliss, they always say, and it's
mm,
true.
mm.
Like I wish I was ignorant about a lot of things. And
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
things we've been talking about so far, like all the conspiracy shit and everything, like I wish
Yeah.
I didn't know all that stuff. I wish that I'd like, was just
It,
like, yay, whatever. Haha,
I do wonder sometimes, like, so for my podcast, I did a deep dive on because two books that I covered were Libra and
Oh, by
American Tabloid by
uh yeah,
Don
Don
DeLillo
Lillo.
is the
Yeah,
book,
yeah, yeah.
and American Tabloid. So as part of the show, the paywalled episodes are like these, I call them madness episodes, and I kind
Yeah.
of go in these rabbit holes. And so for each one of those, I like went way down like one avenue of the JFK conspiracy
Yeah.
theory stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you do come to the end of that, you're like, is that better for me that I know this
Yeah.
stuff now?
Probably
Like, is
not. Yeah.
that probably not? Because and you know what? You may experience this too, like because I nerd out on specific subjects
Yeah.
and I'll like
Yeah.
try to get to
Obsession.
something of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I noticed that sometimes I take those ideas out into the real world with like friends and associates or whatever, and I try to have a conversation. The only time I really get into arguments, I find, is when the other person knows way less about the subject than I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so they're
Yeah.
just like hammering you with something that was
Yeah.
on like in the mainstream news 10
Yeah.
years ago.
Or
And
or
that
they're or it scares them and they have to argue
right.
with you to like make them feel better, you know.
Right, right. And you're just like, and you almost just want to be like, dude, I know 10 times. Not because I'm smarter than you, because I actually looked into it. And
Yeah.
you're just like regurgitating a thing at
Yeah.
me that like, if
Everybody
you were as
knows
deep,
this.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're as deep into this as I would, you would be laughing at
Yeah,
what you're
exactly.
saying right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's very, yeah. So looking into this stuff it's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not, but it
And
like
that,
it doesn't help your mental
no, or
anything.
relationships
Your
or
anything at all.
anything. Yeah, yeah,
So
for
now that we're
sure.
talking about books, right? I
Hmm.
have to obviously segue over into your book, right?
Oh
Which
yeah.
I read
Yeah.
and I liked
Oh,
a great
thanks.
deal.
Thanks,
Um,
man. I appreciate
yeah.
you reading it.
No, no, no. It was awesome. So I had a question about
Okay.
uh the setting.
Hmm.
So where did that come from? Like the sewer? Like where does all that come from? And have you ever been in
Yeah.
the sewers? In
Yeah, yeah.
Have you
I've
really?
spent
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the sewers in Detroit. So when I washed back up into the Detroit area, as
You
I
literally
mentioned,
did, right?
I did, yeah. So I had this whole English writing side of my life, but before that, I had an engineering degree and I had engineering
Mhm.
career, quote
Career. Yeah,
unquote.
yeah, yeah.
And I washed back up into Michigan and needed a job bad. I washed boats for a little while.
Mhm.
I taught in a yeshiva, which was odd.
Mhm.
Like seventh and eighth grade boys in a yeshiva
Interesting.
for a while.
Yeah.
I was a test prep tutor for a little while. Some of
Okay.
those I was doing all at the same time. And
Yeah.
eventually I applied to every engineering firm in the Metro Detroit area. And I got this job at this firm that I'm at now. And you know what's odd about why I think I got the job
Was that?
is the guy who owns the company, and it was a pretty small company at the time, is actually a reader. Like, and he
Oh.
saw that I had an MFA, and he started asking me about like what is this? And then he pointed out, um, he said, I don't remember who it was in his family, or I think it was like his sister-in-law, somebody had dated David Foster Wallace for a while. And
Oh.
he's like, do you know who
DFW.
David Foster Wallace is? And I was like, yeah, I know who David Foster Wallace
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we talked about that. And I think that's why he hired me, is because of like
Because you knew
maybe
who
he
David
didn't
Foster
even
Wallace was.
kind of
Yeah.
I'm not even saying he consciously made that decision, but I think it like boosted me up in
Have you
his
heard of
head
this
in some way.
small? Have you heard of this small book called Infinite Jest? No, no, I'm just
Right.
kidding.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
small pamphlet that came out one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to understand, in the civil engineering world, the number of people who know David Foster
Oh
Wallace, it's
yeah, it's
literally
really
me, my
yeah,
boss,
you
and
and
like
that
one
guy.
other guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but the job is mostly sewer engineering.
Oh,
So
cool. All right.
I was in the field for a long time. I still am occasionally. I'm probably going into a sewer this coming next week, actually, for a little while.
Okay.
But for a period of time, um, I was the inspector on a crew that was in the sewer every day, all
Mhm.
day, and I was usually in the sewer most of the day
Were you
for
with?
a
Were
stretch
you
of
married
several
at the
months.
time?
Uh, was I married? I was engaged.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
how did your fiance like the way that you smelled when you came home? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? It's interesting. It doesn't smell, excuse me, it doesn't smell as bad as you would think.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't
No, I'm
smell good.
sure. I'm
It
sure it
doesn't smell
doesn't.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's not that
But
bad.
no, I had a like a whole setup at home for cleaning all of my
Yeah,
stuff off outside.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that was part of it.
So,
But yeah.
so now that I know that you have experience in the sewer, kind of like Jim, right? That's the name of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim. And
Mhm.
so he w- obviously he sees a lot of crazy shit while he's down there. What is the craziest thing you saw when you were in the sewer? Like an
Oh
actual
boy.
sewer?
Yeah. Uh an eyeball.
Oh, an actual human eyeball,
I
or was it an
don't know if it
eyeball
was
of
a
something
human
else? Oh, it could
eyeball.
have been something else. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but
Could have been
yes, an
a
eyeball.
different
So
animal. Yeah.
you run into these like globs of different stuff.
Yeah.
There's different sorts of debris down there. There's ragging, there's sludge, and all of these get
Uh-huh.
mentioned in the book at one
Yeah.
time
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah,
another.
yeah. They do. Yeah, yeah,
Um, but every once in a while, you'll just run into like a pile of debris.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And you know, you're walking by it, and yeah, there was just an eyeball. And
Oh,
I don't think it was human because it looked slightly on the small side, but
okay.
you realize
It could
an
have been a
eyeball
baby
just by,
eyeball. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, this is the
No,
thing. You
ridiculous.
realize when you have an eyeball outside of the head,
Yeah,
it gets pretty anonymous
it
in terms
does.
of who it belongs
It
to, right?
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but other stuff that's weird and unsettling. There's fatbergs down there. So when you pour oils and
Oh, yeah, yeah,
greases and
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
they end up down there and as they cool, they coalesce and then they gather additional debris on them. So you'll just see big
Chunks.
fatbergs
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
fat
That's
floating along.
interesting.
So there's that.
Yeah.
There was uh one time walking by a sewer that got started we were walking down what they call the interceptor, which is like the main sewer. Think of it as
Yeah.
like rivers, like the interceptor is
You
the
had
Mississippi.
there's you mentioned that right in the book.
I probably do,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah. Because
do.
it sounds
Yeah.
familiar in my head. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so every once in a while there's stuff pouring in from the sides as you're going through, and one was just pouring red. The water coming out of it was super red. We looked into it later, and it was the waste from a slaughterhouse that was just
Oh,
dumping
whoa.
in, and we're just wading through it. You know what
That's
I
wild,
mean?
man. That is
So you
wild.
run into a bunch of like unsettling stuff like that that you kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
shake it off.
no, and you saying that now, like, obviously now a lot of this book makes sense, right? Because, and I don't want to give
Yeah,
away like a shit ton of it because I want people to
sure.
read it because it's a great book.
Yeah, thanks,
Um,
man.
but
But that is a big part. I would
that is a
say
big part. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a third to a half of the book takes place inside the
In the
sewers of
sewer.
Detroit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I felt as I was reading it, I felt um very like kind of Lovecraftian at points. And like where did so is that one of the was that one of the inspirations? Was a lot of Lovecraft stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a sort of latent inspiration for
Mhm.
sure. Just like the weird fiction in general is
Yeah.
definitely an inspiration and something I wanted to take a direction I wanted to take things. I mean, in my head, sort of style wise or whatever, what I was thinking was Jorge Luis Borges
Mhm.
and Cormac McCarthy are in a room together, tasked with writing a piece of fiction that would be published in Weird Tales.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I was trying to go for, trying to like fit all three of those things together in my head all the time. So the Lovecraft stuff is definitely there for
Yeah.
sure. And I think Lovecraft was a kind of genius. I think you're supposed to say, I'm supposed to say all kinds of caveats right now, but I think he
Yeah.
was like, I think he dialed into something about America actually that hadn't quite been tapped before, but
Yeah.
also he hit a register that I think a lot of other writers have been like skirting around until he got there.
Yeah.
This whole the whole old ones
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah. Eldritch
the
shit.
whole
Yeah. Yeah.
cosmic horror
Uh-huh.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nobody had really done it quite like him until he came along. So
That's
that's that.
true. And again, just saying it out loud, I guess, the whole Lovecraft thing, because I didn't even say it until or think about it
Yeah.
really until I was started talking to you and seeing your background too. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Lovecraft a
It's a
little bit.
little
Yeah, a
Lovecraftian.
little
Yeah.
Lovecraftian there. But
Yeah.
like a lot of his stories like have an underground too, right? That
They
a lot of
do.
them do.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
again, there's another inspiration I feel like there. Um
Yeah.
like the Jim doesn't have a I mean again I don't want to give away too much but like he
Yeah.
doesn't have like a fear of the surface I guess per
Yeah.
se but
Right.
like you could see that at points that like maybe he just did not want to leave where he currently was because he felt so comfortable. And is there
Right.
something about Lovecraft where like he was thinking about when eventually again this is one of those absence things right from the theory was
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
actually writing about his own death, his own burial? Like, are you writing about your own
Yeah.
burial underground? And one day your
Yeah.
pieces are going to be in a sewer somewhere or something. You know what I mean? Like, your essence,
Right.
I guess.
Right.
You know?
No, I think that's like a really interesting thing to sort of circle around. Like it's with Lovecraft, you get there's another thing that kind of comes along with one aspect of sort of how Lovecraft achieves this horror sensibility is he has a handful of different aspects of fear that he's bringing together.
Mhm.
One of them that Lovecraft does, and I try to do that in this book as well,
Yeah.
is disgust. Like
Yeah.
disgust
Yeah.
is actually like a branch of fear,
Hmm.
sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the psychological theory, but I think there's an umbrella term for stuff people are afraid of, and
Yeah.
disgust is like a response to it.
Yeah.
Um, but then he also, I mean, Lovecraft has this fear of in his writing of like the what he would refer to as the outside, right? So it's like the real foreign. I mean, in his
Yeah.
life, he also is afraid of people from foreign countries, right?
Yeah,
But
he
in
was an
his
adamant. Yeah, his cat's
yeah,
name was. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, right,
By the
right.
way, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But in the writing, and I know the two things are playing together in him because, in my opinion, his like racism stuff was
Yeah,
actually like a spillover from this fear of like that there was something outside of
yeah,
reality sort
hmm
of pulling the strings and reacting to, and so that's like another kind of fear, right?
yeah,
Almost like the fear of the infinite or something
yeah,
like that.
hmm
But then there's also the fear of the finite, of like claustrophobia, of
hmm
the tight space that you can't get out, the burial.
yeah,
So Yeah, I mean, all those things are ripe for literary attention for sure.
They definitely
Um,
are. Yeah. And then
yeah.
McCarthy, so you mentioned him.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
in what ways did he inspire this book? Because I mean, I've only read, what have I read from? I mean, obviously I've read Blood Meridian, which like,
Hmm.
it's a classic. But I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think that's all I've read by him. What
Oh, right
what
on.
other
Yeah.
books do you think I should look well, or the audience, I guess. What other books should we
Yeah.
read if we were reading your book?
Oh,
Like what
geez.
inspirations?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I mean, I would just rattle off like what's near the top of my favorites at the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, Cormac McCarthy's stuff's great. Blood Meridian is great.
Yeah.
If you're looking for like what the next one is,
Yeah.
um, I would say, gosh, I mean, I would say All the Pretty Horses, but mostly
Yeah, that's yeah.
so you can read The Crossing because I just did an episode of my podcast on The Crossing,
Yeah.
and underrated masterpiece, The
So have you
Crossing.
read
It's
so
incredible.
one of my favorite authors and somebody I've met and I love very much and I wish he would do my podcast. He probably won't and
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
is Mark Danielewski. So
Okay.
he's like you've read have you read House of Leaves
I've
and
read
all that?
House of Leaves. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
read this massive new one he put
Yeah,
out. I'm
that's Tom. It's
intimidated
called
by it.
Tom's
Yeah.
Crossing. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And so, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
he said that it's very much influenced by The Crossing, which I've never
Oh, is
read.
it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read a little bit of Tom's Crossing. I haven't read the whole thing. Sorry, Mark. He
Yeah.
sent me a signed like preview of it. I
Oh,
won it in a
cool, man.
contest. No, it's called like to
That's
Robert
awesome.
James Cross, and no, he's the
Very
coolest.
cool.
But we talked about when I met him. We talked about Arno Schmidt. Have you ever read any Arno Schmidt?
I haven't read any Arno
Dude,
Schmidt. No.
Bottom's Dream, Zettel's Traum in German. That
I've been
is, you
hearing
have to
about
read
that.
that. That'll like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
write
writing it
that down.
down.
Yeah, Bottom's
Arno
Dream.
Schmidt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Arno
Yeah.
Schmidt.
Yeah.
He has short stories too that are really cool, and they very much like Borges, like but like fictionist, like all that stuff is, I love all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
But yeah, I've never read The Crossing. But what is the? Can you give me like kind of a brief little tidbit summary of like what that would look like?
Yeah, the crossing is 16-year-old boy, New Mexico, son of ranchers in the early 1940s. A wolf comes up from Mexico. They've gotten apparently all of the wolves out of New Mexico. Wolf comes up from Mexico. The young man just takes it on himself to trap the wolf.
Hmm.
And it's like one of these, he's like, this is gonna be like my initiation. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
man when I do this sort of, right?
yeah,
But then when he sees the wolf in the trap, he's like, I have to take this wolf back to where it belongs.
yeah,
And so he starts this journey, brings the wolf back into Mexico, and then his crossing into Mexico opens up this whole, like, in some ways, like a typical like Western frontier
yeah.
story, like
Uh-huh.
shootouts and horse stealing and all that
All
kind
that
of stuff,
stuff. Yeah,
which I love, and it's
yeah, yeah.
really, really well done.
It's good
But
stuff.
then also it's sort of mixed in with this. He keeps running into, and you can tell that the young man is like seeking something. He keeps running into these people who have these stories to tell him.
Yeah,
And it's some incredibly rich,
dense.
compelling,
Yeah, yeah,
deeply philosophical stuff when he runs into these people. So you have this like these philosophical like asides that
yeah,
to me are brilliant,
yeah.
that have hidden plot resonances that you don't even really understand till you get to
Until
the end.
later. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then this is mixed in with like some of like the best like cowboy western writing you're
yeah, yeah,
gonna
yeah.
encounter. It's really cool. It's really something.
So,
So
do you
yeah.
think it so unlike Blood Meridian, which like
Hmm.
has its own mystique, but the biggest
Yeah.
mystique of Blood Meridian, I feel like, is that everybody says it's like an unfilmable book. And do you feel like The
Yeah.
Crossing is an unfilmable book?
I think the stuff about it that's the coolest stuff about it doesn't transfer well to cinema.
Yeah. Okay.
That's so yes, I think it would
Yeah.
be I think filming it you would lose kind of what the whole
The essence
you
of
could
it. Yeah.
you could one thing that would be cool is I think you could make a cool film by chopping off the back like 2/3
Hmm.
and it's just him taking the
The
wolf to
wolf.
Mexico.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that because that story makes up the first 150 pages or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
That could be a really cool movie.
Awesome.
But after that, it gets a little wandery and discursive to be filmed in a satisfying way.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it was interesting while you were describing it, you said that he runs into people that like tell him stories and stuff.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
thinking in my head about like what I don't like about TV these days is that,
Mhm.
well, the thing that like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were talking about in that Joe Rogan thing. I don't know if you watched. Yeah, where
I
he
did
talked about
watch
how
that,
like,
yeah.
yeah, they have to like put in the script like what the point of the movie is or whatever like 50
Right,
times
right,
because everybody's on a
right.
phone. Um,
Everybody's right.
but like even before that though, I remember like one of the even back in the 90s and the 80s and whenever when I was watching these movies, one of the things I don't like is when a character runs into another character and then that character has some like out of left field fucking story about their life or whatever. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
me and my brother used to do, you know what I mean? They start going on this huge tangent and it's like,
Right.
just can we continue the fucking story, please? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right,
and
right,
that's,
right,
and
right.
so that's what made, like movies like Die Hard so good, right? Or like
Mhm.
Predator. Like those are like there's no part in that movie where a character stops and like looks at
Right.
Bruce Willis, you know what I mean, and goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah, when I was a young boy, that did, you know whatever." Like it's like it just keeps going. It just keeps, you
Yeah.
know, until obviously Bruce Willis has the heart to heart with what's his name, Reginald Johnson, and they,
Right,
you know,
right.
and he's all like, you know, Reginald Johnson's like, I shot a kid, you know, and all that shit. And they start going into that. But that's like a
Yeah.
completely different thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
But
always
but
so
but
it's good to hear. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cinematically that's different. The pace of a good movie is way
It's
different than
different
the
than a
pace
good
of a
book.
good book.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So so yeah, you can get away with doing that like one time in a movie or something
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
that if it
exactly. Yeah,
comes at the
yeah.
right
And that's
time.
what, and
Yeah.
that's, yeah, and that's that one time, right? Because if
Yeah.
every character was doing that, then the movie would just
It's a
be
li-
that and it wouldn't have any
right.
kind of, you know,
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, no, I felt like you described me that way too. I feel like that happens, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting some of the characters' names. I know
That's
Jim,
okay.
like he was the main
Hmm.
dude, and then uh, shit,
In his crew, you've got
the
Ray,
Quentin.
Wheezy, and the captain or slash Quentin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Quentin's in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
they have their own backstories, right? That are like
A bit. Yeah. Yeah.
similar to what
Yeah.
you're talking, like philosophically, they're kind of similar to that.
Yeah, they have backgrounds for particular plot reasons because it makes it sort of work, but there's also trying to make them all like realistic characters that
Yeah, yeah,
somebody
yeah,
out
yeah.
there
And
could
did you
relate
base them? Did
to,
you base
give
any of
them
these
arc.
characters on somebody real?
Yeah, I would say all of them are none of them is just one person. But I
Okay,
would
got it.
say
Yeah, yeah.
all of them are
Qualities.
sort of like
Yeah,
qualities of a couple
yeah.
different types of guys. Like specifically guys I worked with have like worked with in like the construction or sewer
The
stuff like
sewer
that.
world. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it,
So
it
good.
draws a certain kind of person, and
Yeah,
I generally speaking like those kinds of people.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah. That was something that was kind of fun for me to write. It's like figure these guys out and try to make them
yeah,
funny and make them like the way that they would be, and kind of assholes sometimes, but
yeah.
like
No,
you
exactly.
know, kind of. In some ways not particularly bright, and then in other ways like super smart. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
those sorts of tensions are really interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, we talked about people that aren't that bright earlier in the episode, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like some of those people have a little bit of wisdom occasionally.
Hmm.
You know, what I mean, some of them do. Um,
I
yeah,
do if you go to like on a construction site and you talk to somebody who's a little bit older, like somebody who's been in that for a while,
yeah,
they have figured some shit out. Maybe it's not the most financially
no,
lucrative
yeah,
stuff, but they'll
yeah,
they'll toss you. I mean,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I one of these guys, a guy who inspired a character in the story, uh, told me something I keep in my mind all the time now. I'd never heard it before. He said, "Hey man, you're out here, take everything serious, but don't take any of it personal."
yeah,
I was like, huh,
yeah.
all right. And I've been mulling that over for years
Your
at
whole
this
life,
point,
yeah,
right?
yeah, so,
It's like, what do you mean? I mean, yeah, I kind of get it. Yeah,
yeah,
so you never know like what can be dispensed by I mean, I think working with your hands for a long period of time and gives you can give you a certain kind of wisdom that maybe you don't get doing what I do, which is nowadays, which is mostly I just touch the computer all day.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you
No, no,
know,
no. And what's it called? I hadn't. So it's. I don't want to get again. I don't want to get too spoilery about this book
yeah.
in particular, but um what connections does it have to your previous work? Because I know that you've released stuff before. I haven't
Yeah,
read your old stuff. I only read this
yeah,
from you.
fair enough. Yeah.
But like, what connections does it have, and if it has any at all?
Yeah, I mean there's no plot, there's no like plot connections. There's no reason you have to read House of Sleep, which is my other novel
No
that I have
Easter
out
eggs at
there.
all? Right?
No, there's really nothing that you would need to, I'm not building the Brad Kelly cinematic universe by any
Yeah, that's
means.
right.
Every
Yeah, yeah.
every
BK.
project's a little bit
You.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah, BKEU or whatever.
yeah.
Um so yeah, so like you could just jump right into Earth and Dark, no problem. I mean, connections wise, style, connections to me, there are sort of style things that are similar. There's I detect a sort of evolution in me personally.
Yeah.
Um, I'm definitely moving out of the realm of realism. House of
Yeah.
Sleep
Oh,
was
definitely. Yeah.
more
Yeah. Yeah.
House of Sleep was more
Oh,
realistic,
was it?
and
Okay. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stuff that wasn't realistic always had and I'm really proud of that book, and a lot of people do like it, but
Yeah.
just on this notion, it was mostly realistic, and the stuff that wasn't realistic, you could always see a way where it was rationally explained
Yeah.
somehow.
Got it.
And I'm just moved beyond that. I've realized for me,
Yeah.
literary realism has started to feel like a performance,
Hmm.
and it doesn't really feel, I don't really believe in realism
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had experiences and learned some things that
Yeah.
have indicated to me that the realistic perspective is actually like a denatured
Yeah.
and reduced perspective on what's actually going on.
No,
So
that's
I
yeah,
don't,
no, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was getting my MFA, my professors would always say stuff like write what you know and shit like that.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
was always like, I don't know, man. I don't really want to write about that stuff. Like I'd rather write what I don't know. Like I'd rather write
Yeah.
what is like beyond my imagination, which like I
Hmm.
honestly always did. And but then of course I'd have like the nitpicky person during a workshop go, "Oh, this is you. This is you right
Right.
here.
Right.
This is whatever."
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote a story about the Yellowstone volcano going off in
Oh,
1985.
right on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, you were born in 1985, so like obviously this is about you. You're the Yellowstone volcano." I was like, "Here we fucking
Right.
go. This
Oh
person's trying to
God. Right.
psychoanalyze me." Um,
Yeah. Oh, dude, don't if you're out there and you're going into writing workshops, do not psychoanalyze people.
yeah,
It's not about
don't.
that. You're trying
It's
to,
not a
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about really chopping up somebody's work and telling them that they're a piece
Yeah.
of shit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Get after them. It's
Tell
a
them they're horrible.
competition.
Yeah,
Start throwing some elbows in there. You
yeah,
got to
yeah,
be
yeah.
the top of the.
Yeah, no, I was brutal sometimes, and I got to the point where I just didn't say anything at all. And
I was too nice.
oh, were you? Yeah, no, I was brutal. And
Yeah.
my professor Harold Jaffe, I don't know if you've ever read anything of his.
Mm.
Yeah, he just passed away a couple years ago, but he was like one of my like main. He was 80 something, 85 years old. He was like one of my
Mm.
main dudes. I fucking
Right
he was
on.
like my second father, and he used to always say he'd go, Robert, you have a quiet strength. And it was like, and I had to tell him, I'm like, no, I just don't want to like make these people cry because like there's stuff that I hear in this workshop or that I read in this workshop where I'm like,
Mm.
you're what the fuck? Like, I mean, like, oh, it was insane. It
Yeah.
was mostly young adult stuff. Anytime somebody would write something that was like
Yeah.
YA, I would get so mad. I'd be like, what are you doing?
It's
Like, it's a dime a
yeah.
dozen, these fucking books. Like, you
Right.
kidding me? Like, you're
Right.
not going to do
Right.
anything. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
it's so tricky. It's because it changed over. I mean, I spent a lot of time in writing workshops. I mean,
Yeah.
I got my engineering degree, and then I moved across the country, and I was like, I'm going to start taking writing really seriously. So I started going to the local college, which was Boise State University.
Mhm.
Shout out to Mitch Weiland and
I
Brady
know.
Udall and them and and uh and then once I got there, they were like, if you take 13 classes, you can get a second bachelor's degree. I was like, all right, that's cool. So, I
Nice.
just kind of pieceworked it, and I
Yeah.
took a bunch of workshops, and then I went to get my MFA. I took more workshops. I was in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
workshops every week at that point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it definitely was interesting at the undergrad level. And also, I was coming in kind of older than everybody else
Oh
because
yeah.
This is my second
Yeah.
bachelor's
Yeah.
degree, right? I was like
I was
24.
30. 33, I think, when I started
Oh
my
wow.
master's. Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah,
Okay,
I was in my
yeah.
like,
So
yeah, I'm 40
old.
now, so like, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that was one thing. I was like 23, 24.
Oh,
Everybody else is
yeah,
like 19 or
yeah,
20,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And so that was one thing, just like a mature, like a weird maturity thing or whatever. But I remember it cracks me up, even still thinking about it. There was this girl who was savage with everybody else's
yeah,
stories,
yeah.
just and kind of like mean about it,
Mean, yeah,
like a
yeah,
little bit like, I don't know if you need to say it that way. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you said, this is stupid. You could have just been like, this isn't working for me. You
Yeah,
know what I
sorry,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like, but then as soon as her story was on the chopping block,
yeah,
she had this something, I don't even remember what it was. Something in the plot was not realistic, and I don't mean in this imaginative way. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
no, literally, it was like a car wreck and like you were breaking the laws of physics.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't make any sense
It's
what you
not
just wrote.
realistic. Yeah, yeah,
And she started crying.
yeah.
And it was like, why were you such a bitch to everybody if you're this sensitive? Like, what is your like? Because people kind of went after her because they'd been kind of waiting
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
she was a total bitch to everybody.
yeah,
And then as soon as it turned on her, just could not handle it at all. And
yeah,
I don't know where that story doesn't have a point other than I
yeah, yeah,
found that like fascinating
yeah.
human psychology. I felt like I
I
learned a lot
loved
about people in that moment.
yeah, I love it. I love it still. I mean, to this day, I love it when people dissect the shit out of my writing and tell me how
Mm.
bad it is. Like that's like my favorite thing because I've always told every professor and every person in my life really, tell me what I'm doing
Mhm.
wrong so I could fix it.
Mm.
Like that's what I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
say. Like if I'm doing something wrong, tell me and then I'll do my best. If I don't fix it, then I guess I just don't have the capacity to do that.
yeah,
But I feel like with writing, once you get told like, oh yeah, this doesn't work or this doesn't work or that doesn't work, it's kind of, I feel like easier than obviously like personality traits to change, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So like,
it
you know
is.
what I mean? Like, yeah, if somebody's like, wow, you're the biggest piece of shit in the world, it's like, tell me what I did wrong and then I'll do my
Right.
best. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
But if somebody's
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
this comma splice doesn't work, you'd be like, yeah, okay. I'll just, you
yeah.
know,
Right,
yeah,
right, right,
I'll
right.
change that. Not a big
Yeah,
deal. Um,
yeah,
or this
yeah. No,
character sucks, you know?
I've gotten to the point now. So both House of Sleep and this book, um, I had a couple people like read some early pages or whatever,
Yeah.
and uh, but I have a guy who I trust, who I pay to give me feedback,
Uh-huh.
and as an editor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think actually paying them is really good
Yeah.
because once you pay them, the I'm doing a favor for a guy I'm friendly with, that kind of
Goes
goes
away.
away.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they can kind of get through that and then they can be more honest about
yeah,
sharing their feedback with you. So,
yeah,
obviously maybe that's not within everybody's budget, but like if you're
yeah,
trying to get a book out there, and you can't afford it, I definitely recommend trying to find somebody whose taste you appreciate and who you think can give you good feedback.
yeah,
This is the other thing. There are plenty of great readers out there and there's lots of great writers out there. Not everybody's all that good at giving feedback
no,
and telling you
yeah,
like how to fix stuff and point things out and tell
mhm,
you why this isn't working, right?
yeah,
So sometimes you can have a sort of like a what I call like a dipstick or a barometer reader, and all they're doing is like, is this good or is this bad? Like,
yeah,
do I like this or do I not like this?
yeah,
But finding somebody who can be like, hey, this paragraph doesn't work because 3 paragraphs ago you set up this other thing, and
yeah,
the payoff of that premise you established is you're just fizzled out
yeah. It
here, and
doesn't
so this
happen. Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
So
then you
like
can
you need
change
somebody
that.
who
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get,
yeah.
yeah, you
Mhm.
need somebody who can get to that, who actually understands how the thing is supposed to work. So
So,
anyway,
yeah, so you were saying getting your book out there. So are both of your books self-published?
they are, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
not by choice, sort of by happenstance, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all
So.
right. So what like I've never had anything other than like in journals and shit like published by somebody else.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
have you tried to put it out there like to different?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been rejected by basically every literary agent in the industry, more or
nice,
less.
nice.
There's probably a handful out there that I have not been rejected by.
Okay.
And the Earthen Dark, I did have some opportunities sort of on the indie circuit
Mhm.
to get them out there, and I would have been happy for those to happen, but the timing didn't work
Yeah.
really. It wouldn't be out for another year or more, and
Yeah.
I didn't really want to wait. So that's why that's kind of why I ended up self-publishing this one. I mean, I did take a swing with the Earthen Dark at trying to get on a larger publisher, and it just
Yeah.
didn't materialize. So
Yeah.
yeah.
My book, it's called Shards. It's a small little, it's like I was making fun of David Foster Wallace earlier with the pamphlet
Yeah.
thing. Mine's
Yeah.
basically a fucking pamphlet. It's like 100 pages.
Right
It's
on.
not, yeah, it's nothing huge.
Hey,
But
it's all
that was
right.
my MFA manuscript. Like literally we were told to write, they said write 100 pages, right? Or more. That's what it said, or
Oh,
more. And
okay.
I thought, I'm
Yeah.
going to write just 100 pages, see what happens. And I thought it was good,
Ah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But so I released that, and I went with a guy who I actually ended up interviewing on the podcast.
Oh,
He's
cool.
2 episodes ago, um, and he was cool and everything and all that. But like, it got kind of funky because like I didn't really understand the money thing or like what was supposed to, whatever, any of the ads, like any of that kind of stuff. And it kind of felt self-published, even though it was being
Yeah.
published by somebody else. And he knows that. It's not like, me and him are still cool and everything. But
Right.
but once that all fizzled out, I was like, I'm just gonna re-release it myself on Amazon. And I just made it black and white instead of, it was in color previously. So I
Yeah.
just made it black and white.
Oh,
I was like the black and white
yeah.
edition, which is the self-published black and white
That's
edition.
cool.
But
That's cool.
um
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I've also been rejected by every single literary agent that's ever existed. And I probably
Solid.
still will. I will for the rest of my life, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I'm not I decided after this book, I'm not blind submitting anything anywhere
yeah,
ever, anymore. Like
yeah.
I've been fortunate enough through my podcasting, through my old podcast, Art of
Mhm.
Darkness, my new one, Method Madness.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to form these relationships with a bunch of people, sort of mutual respect
Mhm.
network,
Yeah.
of all people who are doing, if not the same thing, similar things. Um, I, I I could get a story in a journal
If you
tomorrow
want. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
by
Yeah, yeah.
with through this network of people
Yeah.
who I respect.
Same. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, same.
so I just like maybe this is like delusions of grandeur, but
Yeah.
this is maybe indicative of also how my brain works. I have come to a point now where it feels a little demeaning to email someone I've never heard
Mhm.
of and be like, please, could you please
Please.
read my manuscript? Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're groveling at the you
it's
know,
embarrassing.
the you're groveling at the Penguin, or you're groveling
Right,
at the
it's right,
Doubleday,
right,
or groveling at the
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um
and it's just
yeah.
and honestly the advantages the advantage of publishing through a house and I mean I've got a short story collection coming out on Farthest Heaven in a year, the imprint or the publisher Farthest Heaven. I'm really excited about that.
Uh,
But the advantages of these things versus self-publishing aren't as clear as they used to be.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like I've
they
got my
don't
own
yeah. They
I've
kind
got
of
my
don't
own
serve the
pod.
same yeah, they don't serve the same purpose as they used to.
Kind of
Like back in the day it used to be like, oh, this publishing house is going to publish my book, it's going to go to these
right.
places, whatever. Now like you could do that with Amazon. Like you could go on Amazon right now and publish your book and it'll go
Yeah.
out to people and everything. It won't go out to stores and shit. Like obviously if you want your stuff in
No.
Barnes and Noble or whatever, you have to sneak it in there, and put it on the
Part
seller or
part
whatever.
part of me
People
want
do it.
part of me wants to be in Barnes and Noble, but the
Yeah.
I also haven't been in a Barnes and
Barnes and
Nobles
Noble
in
in a long
10
time.
years.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like
I used to love
what am I
Borders.
really
Borders was my place, man. I used to go
yeah,
there a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Borders is good. I
Yeah,
remember
Borders
going
is
to
great.
Borders.
They had great
I
tea
remember
house.
I
Yeah.
remember going to the mall with my mom and she would just drop me at Borders and she'd
Hmm.
go shop and then come pick me up and go to Cinnabon.
Oh, it's
That's a
yeah,
good
Cinnabon, man.
core
Classic.
memory, core suburban
Orange
memory.
Julius. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
privilege right there. Those places.
That is. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
pretty
That's privilege.
privileged at that moment, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Anyway, well, that was a great discussion. I think it'll
Yeah.
end it there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that was about absence, by the way. I don't
That was about absence.
I don't know if anybody caught on to that as we were talking. But no, this was a great conversation. Again, I love the book. You want to plug it a little bit
Thanks,
more?
man.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, please, folks. The Earthen Dark. Dark. Go check it out. It's available on Amazon for your Kindle. It's also available on Kobo, bradkellyesque.com. Also, I'm doing like this kind of deal, if this appeals to anybody at all. If you're in the United States and you become a annual paid subscriber to Method and Madness, which is my podcast about books and interviews with writers and all of that, and which people seem to like, if you pay an annual subscription and you're in the US, I will mail you the Earthen Dark Special Edition, which is the book. It's signed. It has a couple manuscript pages, which are hand-edited pages, with my personalized chicken scratch on them, and a one-card tarot reading, and that will show up in the mail at your door. Plus, you'll have the annual subscription. So, or you can just buy the book by itself too. That's cool.
So now I'm pissed off that we didn't talk about tarot readings because yeah, I know. And I'm pissed off you didn't give me a tarot reading while we were doing this. That would have been
Oh,
cool.
you want a one-card tarot reading?
Let's do
real
it right
quick?
now. Fuck it. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it right before the end. Yeah,
Let's
give me
do
one.
it. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know much about tarot?
I have a bunch of them because I like
Okay.
how they look, but I've never really looked
Sure.
into it.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. That's I think that's most people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got obsessed with, I mean, I'm
And I
still
watch
obsessed with it, but
I play Balatro. I don't know if you've ever played that game.
Balatro.
It's like
No,
a
I don't
card game,
think
and they
so.
have tarot cards in it that you have to like use to like do like a poker hand. You got to
Really?
play it. It's great. I think you'd love it. It's
I'm gonna
super
have to.
addicting
Yeah.
though. Be careful.
Huh. Huh. Well, what do you want a tarot reading on? Normally, when I do a tarot reading, and folks out there, I do them commercially as well if people are interested.
Nice.
But I normally don't have anybody, I normally don't have the other person ask a question, but I think for the audience sake, it might be more interesting if you did ask a question.
Okay. Uh, how successful will this podcast be?
Okay,
Yeah,
we can do that.
let's find out. Yeah,
That's a great
yeah,
question. All right.
yeah. Death.
I'm
No, I'm
gonna
just kidding. That's like,
It could be. It
yeah, yeah.
could be. All right. You have to tell me whether I've adequately shuffled these or not.
Yeah. I can't see your hands. No, I'm just kidding. There we go. Yeah, yeah. That looks adequately shuffled to me. I don't know how to
Okay.
do it.
All right.
I'm not a magician. No, no.
That's all right. All right. One card tarot reading. Queen of Swords.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So here's swords are about the problem solving part of the brain, the rational part of the brain, the logical part of the brain. So, and the queens are about the interior experience of having the interior ideal experience of that. So, like what it's like to be super smart inside of your own head. And so the question you ask is, how successful will this podcast be? And like the tarot always does, it answers the question not quite directly, but sort of obliquely and sort of turns it back on you. And so what this is saying to you, Robert, is it's saying that the success of this podcast relies entirely on your own belief in your own ability to solve problems, think new thoughts, and express interesting ideas.
Awesome. And
That's
I
pretty
feel
much
like we
what it
did that
is.
today. So
Yeah.
thank you, Brad.
Thank
You
you.
are probably the coolest writer guest I've had on here so far.
Oh, well,
I've had a
thanks,
couple
man. I
writers,
appreciate
but
that.
like you're
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're having that discussion with you and everything. It was great. And again,
Oh,
your
great. I'm
book,
glad.
Earth the Dark, amazing. Get it
Thanks, man.
now.
I really
Go buy
appreciate
it.
that. I really appreciate that.
And we will talk again, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.